the news tonight, the Central Bank of Jordan responds to the Economic Council's recommendations with a set of initiatives that will support small and medium-sized enterprises and Jordanian exports.
Iraqi forces retake around 30% of West Mosul as soldiers push further into the terrorist territory, with the expectation the recapture of the western half would be fast.
And Turkey says it will retaliate in the harshest ways after Turkish ministers were barred from speaking in Rotterdam as a row over Ankara's political campaigning in Europe escalates. Good evening and welcome to a new edition of the news.
Good evening.
His Majesty King welcomed at Al Husseiniya Palace a delegation of the Council for Arab and International Relations led by Mohammed Jassim Al-Saqr of Kuwait. The Kuwait-based council is an independent, a not-for-profit national institution comprising the membership of prominent who inform Arab decision-makers with information and opinion. As Jordan prepares to month, His Majesty said top on the meeting agenda Palestinian-Israeli issue, the Syria situation in Iraq, Libya, and against terrorists and radical groups. King Abdullah reiterated the need for joint action to confront regional challenges, especially at this turning point in Arab history. The council members noted the significance of the upcoming summit in light of the situation in the region, voicing confidence that His Majesty is most suited to lead the meeting at this critical time and realize a joint Arab stand to address the various regional issues. Support of small and medium-sized enterprises as well as Jordanian exports. Central Bank Governor Ziad Fariz said the initiatives by the banking sector came to respond to the Economic Policies Council's recommendations launched by His Majesty the King and were endorsed by the Cabinet. One initiative aims to support Jordanian exports through a 100 million JD central bank loan to the Jordan Loan Guarantee Corporation to help the corporation promote Jordanian exports, particularly in a number of new markets. Another initiative, a 100 million JD Entrepreneurship Fund, is a joint effort by the Central Bank and the Ministry of Planning and International Cooperation that aims to support emerging ventures. 50% of the fund is a World Bank contribution. Also announced at the launch ceremony were two banking investment companies that will be set up in the near future. Prime Minister Hani Al-Mulki attended the launch ceremony at the Central Bank. These sets of initiatives seek to achieve a certain level of economic growth, create work opportunities, and address the challenge of unemployment. And also here at home, Minister of Planning and International Cooperation, met with representatives of the World Bank to discuss three loans the World Bank will provide Jordan this year. Fakhoury and the small and medium-sized startups. The meeting also discussed technical assistance the World Bank provides to Jordan in fields such as business practices, poverty assessment, general investment management, as well as private-public sector partnership.
A cabinet decision effective today has dissolved the municipal councils and the Greater Amman Municipality Council ahead of local municipal elections slated for August this year. The cabinet also decided to set up ad hoc committees to manage the functions of the including the Municipality Council transparent
terrorist group's territory. Federal police and rapid response units entered the Bab al-Toub area of the old city, where the fight is expected to be the toughest due to narrow alleyways through which armored vehicles cannot pass. CTS troops stormed the Al Jadida and Al Aghwat districts with reports the terrorists were showing signs of weakness despite initial fierce resistance. The Iraqi army says they expect it would take less time to recapture the western half of the city than the east, which was cleared in January after 100 days of fighting. As many as 600,000 civilians are trapped with the terrorists inside the city, which Iraqi forces have effectively sealed off from the remaining territory that Daesh controls in Syria and Iraq. Meanwhile, the remains of hundreds of mainly Shiite inmates killed by Daesh when they overran a prison in northern Iraq in 2014 have been unearthed by Iraqi forces. Human Rights Watch said in a report that as many as 600 people were killed in the Badoush prison massacre. Meanwhile, the International Organization for Migration said more than 200,000 Mosul residents have been displaced since the start of the campaign to retake Mosul from Daesh terrorist group. More than 65,000 fled their homes in the past 2 weeks alone. In the Mansour district, residents collected aid brought by volunteers from East Mosul, while helicopters circled overhead, firing heavy machine guns and missiles at targets in the city.
And in Syria, the death toll from a double bomb attack targeting Shiite visiting a pilgrimage site in Damascus yesterday has climbed to 74. Most of the dead were Iraqi Shiites on their way to visit a cemetery near the old city of Damascus. Tahrir al-Sham terrorist group claimed responsibility for the attacks. In a statement, the group said the attack targeted Iranian militias and pro-government defense fighters in revenge for what it said was Iran's role in supporting the Syrian president.
Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte said inflammatory remarks by Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, who compared the Dutch to the Nazis, would not help de-escalate a diplomatic row between the two countries. While the Netherlands is not seeking confrontation with Ankara, Rutte added it would have to weigh further options if Turkey did not stop making such comments. Turkey today told the Netherlands it would retaliate in the harshest ways after Turkish ministers were barred from speaking in Rotterdam as a row over Ankara's political campaigning among Turkish immigrants escalated. Here's more.
There was meant to be a rally, but instead this happened. Police using force to break up demonstrators outside the Turkish embassy in Rotterdam. So how did it turn into this? First on Saturday, Turkey attempted to send its foreign minister to the Netherlands to hold a rally among Dutch Turkish immigrants. It was in support of a referendum campaign, which aims to give President Erdogan new powers. The Netherlands had asked the minister not to come, revoking landing permission for his plane. As the spat escalated, the Turkish president threatened the Netherlands with economic sanctions, calling the Dutch government Nazi remnants and fascists. Later Saturday, Turkey's Family Affairs Minister travelled from Germany and attempted to address a large crowd in Rotterdam. She was stopped by Dutch police, declared an undesirable alien and escorted back to the German border.
We were taken out of the vehicle and taken to a police station on border with Germany with police escort. We were held at police station for 1.5 hours. We were dished out very harsh and rude treatment.
With just days until a Dutch election, Prime Minister Mark Rutte says he's doing everything to de-escalate the fallout. The government had said any rallies would stoke tensions before polling day. It may be too late for that.
In France, meanwhile, Turkey's foreign minister told supporters he would hold the Netherlands to account after he was barred from speaking in Rotterdam. Mevlud Çavuşoğlu addressed expat Turks in the French city of Metz, who said they supported their government's stance. One supporter said barring the minister was an infringement of his right of movement. It is absolutely the right of a politician to come and express himself to his citizens who live in Europe, said another supporter. But elsewhere in Europe, reactions mounted against Turkey. Denmark's Prime Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen proposed postponing a planned visit by the Turkish Prime Minister Binali Yildirim this month, while European Parliament Vice President Alexander Graf Lambsdorff demanded a ban on Turkish ministers campaigning in the EU. And German Chancellor Angela Merkel said she will do all she can to prevent Turkey's domestic tensions spreading onto German territory. Furthermore, the German finance minister said it was difficult to continue working with Turkey on economic aid because of the row. We don't want it to escalate, he told Germany's ZDF public broadcaster, but everyone in the German government is agreed. We only want Turkey to return to reason. And in Berlin, more than 5,000 demonstrators gathered for a pro-EU rally, calling on the Netherlands and France to vote against the far right in upcoming elections. Many were holding placards of the Pulse of Europe movement, a grassroots initiative started in Frankfurt with the aim to keep Europe united. With 2 days left before the Dutch elections, the initiative spread Europe-wide. Rallies were held in 40 cities across the continent, including Amsterdam, Bath and Brussels. The Dutch government is set to lose about half its seats in elections this week, according to polls, as the anti-Islam party of Geert Wilders makes strong gains. The protesters are also hoping for votes to swing pro-European in France's upcoming election, where far-right leader Marine Le Pen was second in polls published yesterday.
Mein Ansatz ist, dass Europa noch nie so wichtig.
Europe has never been so important as now. Europe is the only answer we have to Trump, Putin and co. It means now to stand together and try together.
Würde Sie hoffen, dass Geert Wilders?
I hope that Geert Wilders does not win, but the Dutch want to stay in Europe. I wish the same for France.
UK Brexit Minister David Davis said Parliament must not be able to veto Britain's decision to leave the European Union, urging lawmakers to reject proposed changes to legislation that gives Prime Minister Theresa May the power to begin exit talks. Davis urged lawmakers to back May's Brexit strategy and overturn those changes because they would be the government's hands in the negotiations. May is set to begin exit talks by the end of this month, kicking off Britain's most complex set of negotiations since the end of World War II. Davis also said that Britain was drawing up contingency plans for the unlikely event. It has to walk away from exit talks with the European Union without a deal.
What I don't want to do is take a simple bill which is designed to do nothing more. Decision has been made. The British people decided on June 23rd last year to leave the European Union. That is going to happen. My job and the job of the government is to make the terms on which that happens as beneficial as possible.
It was heaven for cat lovers at the International Cat Exhibition held in St. Petersburg, Russia, where a variety of precious breeds were on display, from Russian Blue, Scottish Fold, British Shorthair and Cornish Rex. The most expensive one was priced almost $23,787 US. Russia is among countries with the highest proportion of cat lovers, with more than 1/3 of Russian households owning at least one. In Russia, people need to register for buying a cat, as the pets have their own passports and medical records. The lucky cats, which hold passports and have vaccination on time, are permitted to take public transportation with their owners. While many countries across the world are ready for spring, it was a late winter in the Carolinas, with snow coating streets and beaches. In parts of North Carolina, it was the first snow in 3 years. Up the East Coast, New York and Boston braced for heavy snowfall. Expected to last into Wednesday, the storm raised the potential for dangerous travel and power outages, with damaging wind gusts. While in the western United States, the National Weather Service forecasts potentially record heat in the four corners of Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah, where temperatures were expected into 30s Celsius. 4 races run, 4 races won by Jonathan Ria of Northern Ireland, who took victory in race 2 of the World Superbike Championship meeting in Buriram, Thailand. Road race world champion Peter Sagan powered his way to the front through the picturesque streets of Fermo to win stage 5 of Tirandrakyo. Race over the overall leader Nyara Quintana close behind to retain the blue jersey. Slovakian Sagan jumped away from a small group of riders in the final short climb with 5 hours and 0.05 of a second. Quintana second place, with Australian Rohan Dennis in third. Britain's Adam Yates, who was second overall at the beginning of the day, was suffering sickness and was forced to abandon the race. And finally, the weather outlook. Relatively cold conditions prevail across the kingdom for the rest of tonight, with partly cloudy skies and expected rain showers. Centering in the northern regions, tomorrow a drop in temperature is forecast, with more showers expected over the northern and central regions with northwesterly moderate winds, creating dusty conditions in the southern and eastern regions. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect fair conditions tomorrow, with shortly moderate to brisk winds and slightly high seas. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow.
And to close, here's a reminder of the day's top stories. The Central Bank of Jordan responds to the Economic Council's recommendations with a set of initiatives that will support small and medium-sized enterprises and Jordanian exports.
Iraqi forces retake around 30% of West Mosul from Daesh as soldiers push further into the terrorist territory, with expectation the recapture of the western half would be fast.
And Turkey says it will retaliate in the harshest ways after Turkish ministers were barred from speaking in Rotterdam as a row over Ankara's political campaigning in Europe escalates. And with this, we come to the end of this edition of the news. I'm Alit Khan.
And I'm Rana Hassan. Thank you for watching and good night.
Good night.